Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Conklin & Company. Today on the program, turning algae into fuel. Jeff Smith in touch on UT, saving nearly $2.5 million for algae-derived fuel research. Also coming up, the walk to end Alzheimer's just around the corner. We'll discuss the progress and programs made in treating, perhaps one day finding a cure for dementia-related disorders. But first, candid, perhaps a little brusque, a little edgy, but with plenty to say. Ohio's governor on a number of issues. We sat down this week in the State House office for an extended conversation with John Kasich. Guest commentary in Forbes about the national debt. We fly by $20 trillion in recent days or weeks. You said probably nobody noticed.
No, well, nobody cares, and you don't care, and your viewers don't care. But
tell us why we should care then.
Well, because as the debt consumes a larger and larger portion of our economy, it slows the economy down. And what is the hardest thing for people is when they can't find work. But the hardest thing for mom and dad is when they educate their kids and they can't find work. And we know from real experience around the world that as nations are unable to control their debt, they have very slow growth or no growth. And we can't afford to have that. Now, why does it happen? Politicians love to be Santa Claus. Just take care of everything, you know. Whoever yells and whines, just feed them.
But you said, I don't care. Oh, how do you know that?
Well, because I know from experience, too, that people don't get worked up about the national debt. They just don't, because they don't understand the nature of it, about the really terrible impact the debt has. I mean, people just say, okay, we got the debt, we owe it to ourselves and all this other stuff. But the other problem is that the interest on the debt is growing so high that you have to pay that, which means you can't fund things like education or, health care.
And on the topic of health care, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell this week announcing the Senate intends to vote on Graham Cassidy, the latest GOP health care plan, before the reconciliation clock expires. Governor Kasich teaming up with a Democratic governor with another plan, too.
You've been in lockstep with Colorado's governor, John Hickenlooper, over an alternative to Obamacare, but some say it's kind of the same as Obamacare, and an op-ed piece in Forbes said it abandons patients. So maybe you can speak to that, Governor. That it keeps Obamacare, rescues Obamacare, but abandons patients.
Well, I would have no idea who wrote it. I mean, but the simple fact of the matter is what we're proposing is that this private insurance market doesn't collapse, because we have many Americans now who are inside of these markets and being able to have health care, many that didn't have it before. So what we're suggesting is if you're a state and you want to double down on all the rules and regulations of Obamacare, you can. But if you also want to be in a position of where you can design your own plan, which is what we'd like to do in Ohio, with guardrails. I mean, guardrails are important. You just can't leave people behind. The plans have to be comprehensive. You would have the power to do that.
Medicaid expansion. You're out there as the lone wolf, at least it appears to be, in this building with some of your Republican friends in the legislature. How do you sustain Medicaid expansion with this? Is it a battle brewing?
Well, look, it's really up to them. We've made all the arguments. I mean, the fact is that this is producing a lot of revenue that is allowing us to deal with people's drug problems, mental illness problems, chronic illness problems. They all understand it. But, there's a lot of politics and ideology. But you can't ever forget the people that are being served, the people that are being helped. So we make our case. But that's all we can do, and we have a system that has multiple parts to it, and so I can do my thing, and they'll do theirs, and right now we're fine, and I hope we'll stay fine.
On issues hitting us close to home in the midst of another rough algae season, even an advisory for the Maumee River, and the continued push for an impaired watershed designation, Governor Kasich insists progress is being made. And preaching patience.
Water crisis, 3 years removed now. How far have we come?
There's a lot of things behind that water crisis, including how the plant operated, how old it was, and everything else. But here's the thing. I used to smoke cigarettes when I was a young man, and I quit. And I went to the doctor, and I said, since I've been smoking cigarettes, how long do you think it'll be till my lungs are clear? He said, oh, don't worry about that. No more than about 25 years. Our lake had been ignored for a very long time. We spent $2.5 billion, but more, in some ways, as important as that, We're now also making sure that those watersheds are going to be cleaner, that farmers are going to be working with us cooperatively to make sure that we're not having the kind of runoff that creates the algae bloom. So I think the lake is absolutely better, but we've had many years of ignoring the basic problems with that lake, and now it's doing better. Lots of money being spent, a cleaner watershed, all that leads to, if we keep it up here, I hope we do, the lake will continue to be a jewel and improve.
The governor looking forward, touting clean energy, like the new gas-fired electric plant at Oregon.
This plant, this gas-fired plant, of which we're going to have a number of them in the state, just to give you an idea, it produces about 800 megawatts of power. That's a lot of power. Our nuclear plants are producing somewhere, in the vicinity of 800.
Similar amount.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. But they also have spent fuel. They have problems with how you dispose of this stuff. At the gas-fired plant, you don't have those problems.
How do you reconcile the Oregon statement you made that this is the future with the folks who have made their living in Ottawa County, 1,000 people at Davis-Besse or the Perry nuclear power plant? Well, is nuclear power still part of the portfolio?
Yeah, it's part of the mix. Of course it is. But it should be everything. It should be... but when we see these things from the clean power of gas-fired, it's pretty stunning, and we want to embrace that. But that doesn't mean because we embrace that, we exclude everything else. So if a nuclear plant is efficient, then it should continue to operate. But I also think we need to develop we also need to develop our solar and our wind. Up your area, wind is a big deal. Yeah, we need to have a total mix, not just dependent on one thing.
And of his final months in office, Governor Kasich insists he's no lame duck.
So what can you accomplish in the next 15 months?
Oh, well, there's tons of things. I mean, just when you think about that visit to Oregon and what we've done to develop our energy resources, one of the biggest things we have to do, Lee, is to be in a position of where we're training our workers for the jobs that exist today, but most important for the jobs that are coming tomorrow. We have a very big emphasis on job training and, of course, our ability to attract industries. And if you think about Ohio has always been known as just heavy manufacturing. And now we have cloud computing from Amazon, we have a big investment from Facebook. We have IBM data analytics. We've got a lot of data analytics in the healthcare space, financial technology. I mean, the key always is jobs. And my goal has always been to try to make Ohio less dependent on one sector, manufacturing, and spread out the risk. Now, that doesn't mean manufacturing doesn't matter, but look, it's all changing.
Can we compete for the second headquarters, Amazon's second headquarters?
Yeah, I think.
For that?
Yeah, oh yeah, we're going to definitely.
Mayor of Toronto says it's the Olympics of.
Well, everything hype is what we are into today. I mean, yeah, we'd like to get that. I don't know if we'll get it or not. I mean, we're trying to get a big investment from Foxconn. That would be a very big deal for us.
From Ohio investment to foreign policy and the crisis of the week. We taped on Wednesday as President Trump addressed the UN General Assembly, delivering a stern message for North Korea.
Where is this thing going here before the rubber meets the road?
There are pressures that we can probably apply to North Korea that we wouldn't read about or hear about that could have a strategic, real meaning to them. But secondly, I said it some time ago, there needs to be a regime change. There needs to be a disruption in North Korea. And that doesn't mean you go out and shoot somebody or anything like that. It means we need to, that whole tier of leadership there, there has to be a way in which they're removed from power because and the people that are under this guy are, as somebody once told me, they're not suicidal. I don't know what this guy is. So the problem with military, now if I were president and the intelligence community said they're on the verge of being able to launch something at us, we'd have to take direct military action. The consequences of that is a lot of loss of life. So it's a very tough problem. But what I'd like to see is a change in the people that are running that place. And with disruption, it's possible.
And finally, John Kasich's future beyond the governor's office. His name still at or near the top of some shortlists to run again for the White House in 2020.
What do you want to do when 15 months goes away here? I can't see John Kasich going away. Just reading the newspaper and hanging out. I can't see that. What do you want to do?
I want to continue to have a voice. I really don't know, and I spend very little time thinking about it. And I'll tell you why, Lee. You know, I do have faith in the Lord to fulfill the purpose of my life. I've had a great time, got a great family, great friends, semi-good golf game. But I believe the Lord will fulfill the purpose for the rest of my life. And maybe it is sitting on the couch reading a newspaper and thinking deep thoughts, okay? Yeah, or, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think there'll be opportunities that'll come my way, but I'm going to keep a voice. I mean, I'm going to keep a political organization so I can continue to be a rational voice in a sea of an awful lot of confusion.
There you have it. Ohio Governor John Kasich. Important to note that in the time since that interview was taped, the news revealed that nearly a dozen governors, including Governor Kasich and the aforementioned John